The sun sets every single day without your permission, and the earth spins on its axis at 1,000 miles per hour while you sleep, yet you do not have to lift a single finger to keep the universe balanced. The stars are hung in the velvet of the night, and the tides pull against the shore in a perfect mathematical rhythm, all without a single thought or effort from your mind. And yet, when you lay your head on the pillow tonight, why does it feel like you are the one holding the entire world together? We live in a culture that worships the self, where we are told that we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our souls, and the sole architects of our destiny. While there is beauty in hard work and responsibility, this philosophy has birthed a global epidemic of silent suffering and crushing anxiety. When we believe that everything depends entirely on us, from our finances and our children's futures to our very health and reputation, we begin to carry a weight that was never intended for human shoulders to bear. The phrase, "Don't worry, because God will take care of you," is often dismissed by the world as a simple platitude or a shallow comfort for the weak. But in reality, it is a revolutionary act of defiance against the ego. To truly believe these words is to admit a profound and liberating truth, that you are not in control. And that is the greatest news you could ever receive. Control is perhaps the most expensive and addictive drug in the world. We crave it because it gives us a false sense of safety in an unpredictable world. We think if we can just predict every outcome and micromanage every detail, we can avoid every possible pain. But control is a mirage in the desert of the human experience. You can plan the perfect life, but you cannot control the wind or the rain. When we try to grasp what is uncontrollable, we create a friction in our souls that manifests as worry. Worry is essentially a misuse of the imagination to create a future where the divine is absent. Consider the birds of the air who do not sow or reap or store away in barns, yet they never seem to have a nervous breakdown over tomorrow's sustenance. They exist in a state of constant provision, singing as if the feast is already prepared even when they cannot see it. If the Creator provides for the smallest creature, how much more will He provide for you who are His masterpiece? We have all experienced the midnight ceiling, where the house is silent, but the mind is a roar of what-ifs. In those moments, the ceiling feels like it is pressing down on your chest. This is the place where human strength reaches its absolute limit, but it is also precisely where divine grace begins. Surrender is not the same as giving up. It is the act of giving over. It is taking that heavy backpack of burdens and placing it at the feet of the one who moved the mountains and parted the seas. God cannot carry your burdens if you are still white-knuckling them with all your might. You have to let go to let the divine hand move. To be taken care of does not mean a life free of storms, but rather being unsinkable in the midst of them. Imagine a master scriptwriter creating a story where the hero never faces a challenge. That story would be empty and meaningless. The beauty of your life story is found in the rescue and the resilience. Sometimes being taken care of looks like a closed door that you desperately wanted to open because God saw a trap on the other side that you could not see. It looks like a delay because you were being prepared for a weight of blessing you weren't yet strong enough to carry. We see the back of the tapestry with its tangled threads and messy knots, but the weaver sees the front where every dark thread of grief is necessary to highlight the gold threads of joy. Your life is not a series of accidents, but a carefully orchestrated symphony of care. Every tear you have shed has been seen, and every silent prayer whispered in the dark has been registered in the heart of the infinite. The reason you are still standing today, after everything that tried to break you, is the ultimate proof that you have been watched over all along. You are a walking, breathing miracle of sustenance. when you finally stop trying to play the role of the provider and the protector of your own life. You free yourself to become the recipient of a grace that knows no bounds. This is the beginning of true peace, which is not the absence of trouble, but the you. Undeniable presence of a guardian who never sleeps. As you breathe in this moment, realize that you are being sustained by a power that loves you more than you love yourself. Trusting in this care allows you to walk into the unknown with a quiet confidence, because you know that even if the path is hidden, the guide is certain. The transition from understanding the nature of surrender to practicing it in the dark is where the soul truly finds its strength. There is a specific kind of ache that comes when you have done everything right, yet everything seems to be going wrong. It is in the silence of the heavens that we often feel the most abandoned, but it is precisely in that silence where the deepest work of divine care is being performed. We often mistake silence for absence, but in the life of the Spirit, silence is frequently a sign of deep concentration. Just as a surgeon is most quiet when they are performing the most delicate part of a procedure, the divine often seems quietest when the most significant internal transformation is taking place within you. You might feel like you are in a waiting room that has no exit, but the waiting room is not a waste of time. It is a place of preparation. If God took you to your destination today, you might not have the character required to stay there. The delay is not a denial. It is a form of protection that ensures you do not crumble under the weight of your own answered prayers. Think of the seeds buried deep in the earth where it is cold and dark and lonely. From the perspective of the seed, it feels like it has been buried and left to rot. It cannot see the sun and it cannot feel the breeze. It is surrounded by dirt and pressure. But that pressure is what triggers the growth, and that darkness is where the roots find their depth. If you feel buried today, remember that you have actually been planted. You are in the hands of a master gardener who knows exactly how much darkness you need to develop the roots that will sustain your future fruit. There is a profound mercy in the things God does not allow to happen. We often pray for things that would eventually destroy us, and when we don't get them, we feel neglected. Yet years later, we look back and realize that the unanswered prayer was the greatest gift of all. This is the hidden architecture of divine care, where the architecture is built not just of the bricks of our successes, but also of the gaps left by our failures. When you are walking through the valley of the shadow, you are not walking alone, even if you cannot hear a single footstep behind you. The shadows only exist because there is a light shining somewhere nearby. Your job is not to find the way out, but to trust the one who is the way. Many of the greatest figures in history spent years in the wilderness before they ever saw the promised land. They were being forged in the heat of uncertainty so that they would be unbreakable in the light of victory. You are currently in the forging process. The heat you feel is not there to consume you, but to melt away the insecurities and the false dependencies that have kept you small. God is taking care of you by stripping away the crutches you used to lean on so that you can finally learn how to fly. It is a terrifying grace, but it is a grace nonetheless. When the bank account is low, or the heart is broken, or the dream seems to be drifting further away, your human instinct is to scream for a rescue. But sometimes the rescue is not a change in circumstances, but a change in your perspective. When you realize that your security is not tied to your circumstances, but to the character of the Creator, you become dangerous to the kingdom of fear. You start to move with a divine ease because you know that even the worst-case scenario is not beyond the reach of the Almighty. The valley is not your home, it is just a passage. You are passing through it, not staying in it. Every step you take in the dark counts for double because it is a step of pure faith. In the light, it is easy to walk, but in the dark, every movement is an act of worship. God is watching your progress with a pride that you cannot imagine, and He is stationing angels at the slippery parts of the path to ensure that you do not fall beyond recovery. You are being held with a grip that is firm and a love that is fierce. Even when you let go of God, He never lets go of you. His care is not dependent on your ability to believe perfectly, but on His inability to be unfaithful to His own promises. Rest in the knowledge that the bridge ahead of you has already been tested, and it will hold your weight because it was built by the one who knows exactly how much you can carry. When you emerge from the valley in the silence of the waiting room, you enter into a new dimension of existence where the promise that God will take care of you is no longer just a belief, but a lived reality. This final stage of the journey is where your trust transforms into a radical power that changes how you interact with the world around you. When you truly understand that your needs are covered by the wealth of the universe, you stop living in survival mode and you start living in purpose mode. Survival mode is a life dictated by fear and scarcity, where you are constantly trying to protect what you have and grab what you can because you are afraid there will never be enough. But purpose mode is the life of a person who knows they are backed by an infinite supply. This realization breaks the chains of greed, envy, and anxiety. You become a person who can give generously, love deeply, and risk boldly because you know that your source can never be depleted. You no longer look at a challenge and ask if you have enough strength. Instead, you look at the challenge and remember who is standing behind you. This is the manifestation of grace, where your life becomes a vessel for the same care that sustained you in the dark. Because you have been comforted in your deepest sorrows, you now possess a unique authority to comfort others. You become the hands and feet of the very providence you once prayed for. When you see someone else trembling in their own midnight, you can stand beside them with a steady hand because you have been to the bottom of the canyon and found that the floor was made of solid rock. Your confidence becomes contagious. People will look at your life and wonder how you can remain so calm in the chaos or so hopeful in the wreckage, and your life becomes a living testimony to the fact that there is a guardian who is faithful. This is not a life of ease, but it is a life of impact. You begin to move with a divine rhythm, sensitive to the whispers of the Spirit, going where you are sent and doing what you are called to do without the paralyzing fear of failure. You realize that even a failure is just a redirection in the hands of the great architect. As you step into this final chapter of your spiritual evolution, you see that the struggle was never meant to destroy you, but to enlarge your capacity to hold the glory that was coming. You are now a person of weight and substance, forged in the fire and cooled in the grace of the divine. The journey from worry to wonder is complete. You walk through the world with a light in your eyes because you know the end of the story, and the end of the story is victory. You are safe. You are seen. You are loved, and you will always be taken care of from this moment into the reaches of eternity. Every breath you take is a gift, and every step you take is ordered. Go forward with your head held high, not because of who you are, but because of whose you are. The Creator of the stars is the shepherd of your soul, and under His watch you lack nothing. This is your inheritance, this is your peace, and this is your truth forevermore.